Hello and welcome to Open Line. I'm Jolene DeVito. You've no doubt noticed the bulldozers, cranes, and yes, the detour signs around Irving. All indications that there are a lot of construction projects underway. And today we're going to dive in and learn more about many of them. Viewers were invited to submit questions through email and social media. We'll be getting those answered throughout the show. Our guests today are Capital Improvement Director Casey Tate, Engineering Manager Dave Springob, and Planning Manager Gene Molden. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here very much. I appreciate it very much.
Good to be here.
And Casey, we begin with you, and we begin with the South Irving Library. Under construction, of course, across from the current Central Library. How's it going? Where are we on that?
Well, we've picked construction back up, and if you haven't been by the site, they've got all the red iron stood up for the frame. In fact, just yesterday, they poured the first floor slab for the building. They're working on putting together the second floor slab, and they should be pouring that in a couple of weeks. The big thing they're going to start this week is in the basement. They're going to be putting up some of the walls, starting on the framing of the walls. So they're coming along pretty well. He hopes to have the building dried in by the end of the summer. So they've got a long way to go, but the good news is all the supplies are here. They just need to follow through and get it all put together.
For the construction novice, perhaps watching, dried in, what does that mean exactly?
That means that the roof is installed and it is watertight and the walls are put up. In this case, there's a lot of glass on the outside of this library to kind of give you plenty of light as well as give you some good views out of the building. So they've got all the windows are there at the site, so they've got them and the frames. So they'll just start building the exterior walls. They'll start on one side and kind of work their way around. And so they've got, but that would be dried in with the roof on, the windows in, doors on, that sort of thing.
You mentioned that construction is back underway. Some delays following the discovery of some water issues in what will be the basement area.
That's correct.
Take us back through there. What happened and where are we now with that?
Essentially, the contractor felt like he had encountered a large amount of groundwater, talked to us about it, and from what he told us, we felt like maybe it was out of the ordinary. It took a while, and we did a lot of testing. We looked at all the water mains to see if there was a leak in the neighborhood. We looked if there was water coming in from the pond to the east. We thought maybe Millennium Fountain was leaking to the north. After we checked all those, we didn't find any source of any type of potable water coming into the building, so we did figure out it was groundwater from the site, so we tested it, and it turned out to be much less than the contractor originally told us. Once we found that was good news. Once we found out that the volume of water, we sat down with some engineers and worked out a drainage system that will be able to keep the water out of the building and keep the water table pulled down below the basement. In fact, it's been going now for about 3 months, and we haven't had a single problem with it, and everything's doing well on it.
Remind us of some of the features of the library itself. When it's all said and done and ready to open, what will we see?
Well, you're going to see a new highly technological building. It's really set up for the programs that the library run through it every day and every week. It'll have its own children's space, and along with that will be like a children's story room. There's 3 other meeting rooms in the building that groups will be able to use when the library's not using it for story time or whatever. It does have a teen center in there, and they have their own teen area with some high-tech gadgets in there. It does have a very large adult section in the building, and in fact, that's why the basement was built. In lieu of culling the collection, we're going to put about 300 volumes of the least checked out books in the basement, and you'll be able to get those books on an hour's notice. You'll be able to come in, ask for the book, and they'll be able to go down and retrieve it for you. Most of those volumes of books are only checked out once or twice a year.
Interesting, yeah.
So we felt like that was a good solution. Instead of culling the collection, store them in the basement, and they'll be available on demand as people come in. I think the thing that we're doing with the library, it's going to have a lot more technology, a lot more computers. You'll have some digital interactive stuff for the kids to do. It'll just be a more program-oriented library than what we have today. It'll reflect a lot of what you see out at the Valley Ranch Library as well as the West Irving Library. Some of the similar features, just a new spin on them or a different take on them.
And time frame for ultimate completion again?
We hope the contractor will be out of there by the end of this year, and we're expecting the grand opening to be in January or February. It depends on the time frame it takes for us to move. As you may guess, we'll be moving out of the Central Library across the street, but it still takes a lot of time and effort to move all those books, get them back on the shelves in the right places, and get the staff trained in the building. So January, February, sometime in that time frame is when we expect the building to be open.
Well, we look forward to it and keep us posted. Dave, Let me move on to you. Another project that's getting a lot of attention is OConnor Blvd in the Las Colinas Urban Center. Most of us have seen the work underway or had to find our way around it. Where are we on that project?
Right now we're about 2 months into the project. We're working on utilities. We're about 80% complete with the water lines. We're almost done with the storm drain. We are going to be completing the water tie-ins and so forth. We hope to be complete with that project before the end of the year. There's incentives built into the contract. The contract goes through January of 2015, but right now we're right at schedule. We're pretty optimistic that we're going to get out of there before the first of the year.
Let me back up and ask you, why the need for this project? What are we doing here?
Okay, well, we're replacing the utility lines, and we are ultimately the paving was in very bad riding shape. We're going to be replacing the pavement after we put the utilities in. It's going to be a much stronger slab, concrete, reinforced concrete. It's going to even have double reinforcement in it. We have such expansive soils in the area, and also soluble sulfates have been detected. So we're making those measures to make it for the longevity of the roadway. We're hoping, 50-year design.
Did you have something to add?
Yeah, if I could add this.
Sure.
When we started this project, to keep 1 or 2 lanes open for people to travel through it would have meant that the project would have taken 16, maybe 18 months. We sat down and met with some folks and talked to everybody involved and said, if we close down that section of road, which there are plenty of detours around this area, we said, could we do it in a shorter amount of time? Everyone agreed that that was feasible to do. So instead of stringing it out for 16 or 18 months, we opted to close that section of OConnor right in front and get it done in 9 months. And so that's the goal, to get in there, get it out, and get done, so that, as we would say, the pain is a shorter amount of time than a longer amount of time.
So who did you sit down with when you were deciding whether to go with a full closure or not?
We put staff together that works on a lot of these projects design-wise, and then we consulted with several contractors that work with us, asked them what they think about that type of operation. Most contractors are very excited about closing down a project because they don't have to worry about interacting with traffic going by. That's why it takes so long. Because they have to move a lane over, it takes a day or 2 to move the lane, and they have to move it back over. If you've been out on Grauwyler or some of the other roads, you know what we're talking about.
Right. What do you do about the business people and the businesses in the area that are really greatly affected by this in the short term? How are you in communication with them?
That is by far the biggest challenge we have on a project like this. And what we did do was we began 9 months to a year out from the start of this project talking with everyone out there, had a series of user meetings, and began to kind of get them acclimated to what was going to be going on. We asked for their input, and they helped us kind of decide on what would be the best traffic detours around the site. And in fact, the biggest thing we've done, I think, especially with the folks at Williams Square, is that once the project started, and what we all thought would be a good traffic rerouting plan had some problems with it, and we sat back down with them and got their input, and they suggested some changes that have actually improved the traffic flow. And we've also gotten the police involved, and they're out there every day helping direct traffic when they need to, helping facilitate traffic moving through the intersections. It's going to be a challenge, but it'll be a challenge for a shorter period of time instead of a longer period of time.
You as well optimistic that we could get this done on time by the end of the year, you said?
Yeah, absolutely.
End of the year?
We're not out of the woods yet, but we're progressing. I like where we're at at this stage of the construction.
One of the nice things we've done that is going to speed this up is, instead of mixing in a lime slurry that takes a week or 2 to what they call cook or get set up, we're using flex base on most of this project. So that just is dump it, compact it, get your compaction, you're ready to go on. That's a matter of days instead of several weeks. And that's going to make this a lot quicker going forward. Plus, it helps us with the soils out there. As Dave mentioned, this soil has the ability to move anywhere from 8 to 12 inches from wet to dry. So it has a lot of movement. The more you work that soil under the road, the better off you'll be.
Are we at all concerned about weather? I mean, I know weather can obviously affect projects, but has that delayed anything at all? Or?
That hasn't come into play right now.
Okay, good.
Not as yet. I don't really. Well, there's always a possibility of weather, slowing us down a little bit, but right now we're forging ahead. So.
Good. One
This
of
is
the
usually-
positives about not much rain, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is usually the indicator. If we've been in a dry period and we start an important project with a tight schedule, we starts raining and we get plenty of rain. But we've been fortunate so far. But we do have time programmed into the 9 months in case it does rain.
Gene, let me bring you into the conversation now
Okay.
and ask you about Victoria Park. Start
Sure.
with the very basics. What is it?
Well, Victoria Park is up off of Northgate, just east of Beltline Road. It has what's called Castle Kingdom, which was a community playground, the old wooden playground that many communities built back in the late 80s. Well, Irving did one, of course. It was a very successful, but that was 25 years ago. Since then, we've had many playground upgrades with rules and regulations, ADA upgrades, plus just the wood deteriorating. And really now the guidelines call for not using wood at all. And so it's the city council will put in the budget for to take out the playground and put in a brand new one, and that's what the project is.
Tell us what it's going to look like. What can we look forward to there?
Well, it's been a great process. First, we met with the community and let them know what was going on. We met with what we called our strategic committee, which was kids from the next door at Townsend Elementary.
Love that. Kids on a committee.
Yeah, they were great, and they came
Great.
prepared, and they came with lists, and
Good for them.
they wasn't shy at all about telling us what they wanted. So we pretty well listened to them, built and designed a great playground. It's going to have a castle theme. It's going to have some standard, your run-of-the-mill post and deck and climbing events, but it's also going to have some new netting, climbers, and the kids really like that. It has a dragon, a makeshift dragon to it, and a lot of individual play events that can be group events or single events. It's going to be.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
Serves a lot of different types of personalities on the
Yes.
playground.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the specific input that you got from the kids you heard from?
Well, at first they went, oh gosh, a lot of them were, of course they want to jump, they want to run. One of them wanted a dog park and basketball goals, and some of that wasn't realistic, but a lot of them just want to climb, they want to run, they want to play with their friends, and at the same time they want to have some spots where they can play by themselves.
Run off and do their own thing.
Yeah, and they want shade. We got shade. Like I said, we had a list about this long. So,
I bet. And time frame for completion again?
well, it's just let's see. We're going to shut the playground down on June 19th,
Okay.
and the demo will start the 23rd, and then so from that we'll just start doing all the concrete work, and then slowly bring in the play equipment, and then it should open by November 1st.
November 1st.
Yes.
Casey, how's this being funded?
It's out of the bond program. In fact, it's part of the Park Improvement Bond Program. The city sells bonds every year that are general obligation bonds. The voters approved them in 2006 and also in 1999, and essentially the city just sells them when projects come up for development. So I think one important aspect of this project is that there's a strong current right now of doing away with wooden playgrounds, obviously from splinters and things like that, but also treated woods are not real good for kids to use in playgrounds. And so going into this new commercial type or brand that has some playful events to it is a much safer environment for kids to play on.
Absolutely. Let's move on, Dave, to another road project, OConnor Road between 183 and Rochelle. How's that going?
Well, that's a good one.
How much time do you have?
Well, we should be out of there within 2 weeks. That's the good news.
Wow.
And it'll be opened up to, it's 2 lanes in each direction with a middle continuous left lane. So it's considered a 5-lane undivided roadway. Right now it's set up as just 2 and 2. We've got to finish up a little bit of sidewalk, a little bit of retaining wall. There's major cleanup. They have to do a little bit of grading. There's sod work that has to be installed, that type of thing. The project is behind, and everybody knows it. There has been several unforeseen issues coming along the way that we had to address as we went along. But I know everybody's been a little excited about it. They want it done. Nobody wants it done more than I do. But I'm telling you here that it's a good product. I don't know. We're behind schedule, at least 2 months for even considering the extra days we've given the contractor.
What were some of the biggest obstacles? What were some of the things that didn't go as planned?
Well, you know, we have what's called record drawings or as-built drawings, and when the design process is going on, we always, you know, we go into that to see what the existing infrastructure is. Well, you know, their design sometimes is only as good as what the as-built record drawings are. Some of those water and sewer lines were put in the 60s, and you know, the elevations were different. They weren't where they said they were. That was a big thing. We had an Explorer gas line that was in conflict from the get-go that wasn't supposed to be in conflict. Some other components had to be fixed. We had an emergency fix in the intersection of Rochelle and O'Connor that we had to address. But ultimately, there was some mistakes on the plans. And rewinding about a good year ago, I actually had to stop the paving operation at about Goodyear because all the grades moving forward wouldn't have worked out. And I did not want to allow more pavement installation at the intersection, and then we'd have to come in and jackhammer it out. We had to do some redesign, and that's what everybody saw. They saw the paving machine sit out there for a month, and those were hard calls, but this is where we're at now. We should be out of there in 2 weeks. It is a good product. The retaining walls have a veneer stone on them. It's got a good look. We've got brick pavers. All the crossings of the aerial are now going underground. So, and we have the linear park on the east side. Yeah. It's looking real good. Everybody's going to be real happy with, happier in the next couple of weeks. I promise you.
Yourself included.
Myself included.
Yes, yourself included.
Yes.
I would tell you that Dave has struggled with this project. We've all struggled with it, but we've worked with the contractor and stayed on him as best we could. It was unfortunate some of the things that happened, but you know, we have other projects. In fact, we have 84 different projects underway right now, from design to construction. So there's a lot going on in our shop, and this one, it had its challenges, but you know, that happens occasionally.
It does. So let's maybe talk about something a little happier. Gene, perhaps, let's go to Gene. Gene has all the good news. Another expansion in the works for Campion Trail.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
It's called the Lone Star Campion Trail Connection, and Lone Star Trail is the Grand Prairie Trail. Okay. So that means we're going from Mountain Creek Preserve, which is on the very south end of the city, the south side of the city, going right now. That trail goes from Mountain Creek Reserve, goes north up to Trinity View, and it stops at River Hills. Well, this project will take it going west to to MacArthur Boulevard, up around Hunter Farrell, and tie into Grand Prairie's Lone Star Trail.
Wow. So
that's 2.3 miles in Grand Prairie. We'll add in another 2.65 mile of trails. And we'll have, once it's all completed, we'll have about 9 miles of trail on the south side of town. For
those who maybe aren't familiar with it or don't get to visit it, let me get the real bird's eye view of what it is and the scope of it.
Okay. Well, it's the trail itself is 12-foot wide, concrete. There's a number of low water crossings where we just got to cross, you know, this low areas. So they'll be have stone veneer on that, and that'll make it look real nice. Mm-hmm. There's some big pedestrian bridges that we got to put in. There's even an existing bridge that we're renovating that was used back in the 1920s when they were doing bringing gravel out of that area through rail. So we got that bridge that we are renovating, and we're going through some private property. Got some easements under some Encore electrical lines. We got that easement just today. So everybody seems to love Campion Trail. This is just another extension of it. It'll have some benches and security lighting along the way a little bit.
I have yet to meet anyone who doesn't love it.
Yeah. I would add this. A lot of people, you know, they heard this trail was going to go behind the landfill on Hunter Farrell, and they were like, oh my God, that's
Gosh,
not a good
who
idea.
wants
But
to do that?
actually, there's a pretty good area,
Yeah.
probably about 60 acres behind the landfill. It's just gorgeous back there. Beautiful trees you'll be going through. It'll be one of the more scenic parts of the trail.
You'll forget all about the landfill.
Yeah.
I don't think you really won't see it much. There is part of it where it'll open up and you'll see it. But once again, it's a very beautiful part of nature back there. And I think the thing that is really significant about this trail is that our partners at Dallas County Open Space gave us $2.5 million to fund this project.
It's all funded from that?
Yes, the project has about a $2.4 million construction cost, and it's going to be awarded at the end of June.
Right.
So right now, that money is coming out of Dallas County funds, so we're not spending City of Irving funds on it.
Even better.
Yeah, and really the thing that's significant about this is it'll be our second intercity connection. Right now, we're connected into Farmers Branch across Royal Lane Bridge. This will actually connect us into Grand Prairie and actually allow residents to use their trail that goes around the racetrack and the movie theater and the minor league park down there. So it's a great addition, and Dallas County's been a great partner with us, and we really look forward to working with those guys.
What's the vision for the future, the longer term future of the trail? Do you see even more growth and more connections perhaps?
Absolutely. Right now, we've submitted a grant. Once we finish this segment of trail, which will be done sometime in late 2015, the only piece that'll be left is connecting the north and the south, and that's the piece around the Texas Stadium site, former Texas Stadium site. And we've already worked on that route a great deal. We're waiting on TRA to lay a pretty large sewer transfer main around the stadium, and our trail will go similar right on top of that pipeline, so we'll use their route. But that's about an $11 million project, and Gene and the folks in traffic and transportation just put together a grant and submitted it to fund a large share of that through the federal funding. So we'll find out later this year if we get that grant. If we do, then it'll be going forward pretty quick for
Fantastic.
completion.
That's great. Dave, let's talk another project, Grauwyler Road. It's been underway for a while. You touched on it, but let's talk a little bit more about what's going on there. Where are we?
Okay, Grauwyler Road, which is from Loop 12 to almost to Carl Road. That project's going pretty well, actually. Right now, it's one-way westbound only from the southbound frontage road of Loop 12 to approximately Brook Hollow. Brook Hollow toward the west is all two-way traffic. Right now, we're finishing up some storm drain junction boxes. And we're almost done there. And this is approximately at Dar Street is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
We should be starting on the last utility that we have to do is an 18-inch water line that goes from approximately fire station number 3, which is at Voiron, toward the east and underneath Loop 12, and then we tie that in. After that, then we get ready for paving. That project should be complete before Labor Day. That one's going real well.
Great.
So,
Let's talk about that one some more. Okay.
yeah, that one's gone really well. We've had some really tough construction that's already been accomplished at Irving Heights. Piece of what's known as the Jameson line. It's a big 48-inch water supply line. That's already been installed. A lot of components of the project are all ready in the ground, which we're not done yet. We still, like I said, this 18-inch water line it's about 1,500 feet, but we're seeing the end of it. So I think everybody's going to be real happy.
Great. Casey.
Yeah, what I was going to add to that is that a lot of people don't realize that right now the Jameson water line, which supplies water to the MacArthur pump station and really supplies the southern half of the city with its major water supply, runs under 183. And as you know, 183 is about to go under construction early next year. So we've been working tirelessly for about 10 years or more to get the Jameson line relocated under Grauwyler. This piece that's part of this Grauwyler extension on the far east is the last piece within Grauwyler. It now will run all the way under Grauwyler, and Dave's got a project coming up from MacArthur from Grauwyler to 183 that will connect into the plant, the water pump station there at MacArthur. So that piece is going to break ground this summer, and we'll have the last leg of that put in before the end of the year, and then we'll be able to test it and get it ready to go forward to supply water so that we can take the line out of service that's literally 60 years old and under the pavement on 183 right now. So that's a big part of that project, and that's why it was so urgent to get it done. The other thing I would mention is that our interim city manager, Steve McCullough, started on this project in his first round with the city, and they started down on the far west end at
Really?
Story Road, and he's pretty excited to be around when the far eastern end is going to get done, and we'll complete the whole length of Grauwyler. So that's a big step forward.
You're also working closely with water utilities on replacing a lot of aging pipes.
That's correct. We have some 46 projects worth about, I think it's 70 different locations, streets-wise, around the city. And most of these lines have been in for 50, 60, 70 years. And so we're going in, and what we're trying to do is, instead of just going in and replacing the sewer line or the water line, and then coming back 3 or 4 years and replacing the other one, whichever one we don't, we're now going in on a street and replacing both the water and the sewer, getting it done at the same time so that we don't come
Makes
back and
sense.
disrupt
Yeah.
the neighborhood. And then a lot of times, in most cases, if it's not concrete, if it's an overlaid with asphalt, we'll mill the entire road and put brand new asphalt down, so the neighborhood or the street that gets improved gets a beautiful new look to it, very up to date, and very new looking, very nice.
Right. Gene, let's talk any other park projects that you have in the works. Anything else on your plate that would be of interest to our viewers?
Well, we also are working on plans for what's called a TRE trail, and it's a trail that goes from Irby along Rock Island Road, from Irby going west to the DART station on the west side there, on the other side of Gilbert. So we're working on plans on that, and that's another grant that we got from TxDOT. It'll be a 10-foot wide trail.
Okay.
And working on plans for that. Hope to have that out to bid by the end of the year.
Great.
That's part of a bigger project that we have going on, that the Dallas-Fort Worth mayors got together with Arlington, Grand Prairie, and Irving, and they put together a trail that's called the DFW Connector Trail that connects downtown Dallas with downtown Fort Worth, and it goes through Irving, Grand Prairie, and Arlington. And this is a segment that will tie in and go further west down Rock Island and ultimately tie into Arlington and into Fort Worth. So this trail will actually be multimodal. You'll be able to get to the transit stations to catch the train or the bus. So that's a good news story also. And that trail is a 64-mile trail. And Irving's kind of special in that we actually have 2 routes in that trail system. We have one that goes up north, goes down the TRE line that Gene's working on. And then we also have a segment that goes south, follows Campion trails through Grand Prairie along the river. So we're actually getting 2 branches of that trail in Irving. So we feel pretty blessed to have that.
That's great.
Going through town.
Talked about a lot of projects today, obviously a lot going on. In the time we have left, tell me how important it is to get public input and to keep the conversation going with the public as you're pursuing these projects.
Yeah, that's kind of a keystone to what we try to do. Is when we go in and do a project, we try to have at least 2, possibly more community input discussions. And it's important to find out what the concerns are in that neighborhood and try to address them. You know, we can't really do a great project unless we know what the residents and the neighbors are wanting. In response to that, we've been getting requests for a lot more updates as we go forward. So we now have a website out there, or web page on our website that's
Great.
called Construction Projects. You can click on there, it'll take you directly to the construction page.
Just from the City of Irving's
Yeah,
website?
go to the City of Irving website. There's an icon, it looks like a barrier, it says road construction. If you click on it, it'll take you right to that page. And in the upper right-hand corner, of course, the website's being redone, so it's going to change a little bit. But there's a place where you can click, enter your email address, and get information sent out to you as it happens for road closures, changes,
Great.
updates. So we're trying to push that out. We want to encourage people to sign up for that listserv.
Casey, Dave, Gene, thank you gentlemen very much for bringing your expertise and your information to us. We appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm Jolene DeVito. Be sure to join us on Thursday, July 17th for our next edition of Open Line. We will prepare you for the opening of the final phase of the DART Orange Line, the one that will provide the airport connection. If you have questions, you can email us, ictn@cityofirving.org, and we'll get answers for you on the next edition of Open Line. Thanks for watching today. We'll see you then.